Saturday View with Ronan Berry. With thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. lumcloonenergy.com. Call 0818 300 103. Text or WhatsApp your Saturday View to 083 3010 103.
And a very good morning to you all on this Saturday of the October Bank Holiday weekend. I'm Ronan Berry. It's time for Saturday View. Coming up on this morning's show, we're going to meet the Westmeath-based mentalist who is creating a bit of a storm. He's going to end up on the stage in the West End in London early next year. He'll tell us all about what he does, how he got into it, and what the future lies in store. And he's also promising to try and play with and mess with my mind as well. So I really don't know what's coming up on that one. Looking forward to hearing the story, but we'll see what happens with the rest of it. He wants to chat me before he comes on air. He has a little challenge for me, so let's see where that takes us all later on. We're also going to try and follow up on some of those stories that have hit the news this morning. More detail has emerged overnight behind some of the reasons why maybe Brian Stanley has left or resigned from the Sinn Féin party. If we can bring you some details on that, we will later on the show too. And also, Portlaoise Hospital has issued a notice that if you have an injury or suffer an injury over this bank holiday weekend, that you might consider going to another HSE facility, some as far away as Roscommon University Hospital. So let's try and find some information on that and what the advice actually is and how you should react if you do need to use those A&E services. So lots for us to talk about this morning. If you want to join the conversation, 083 3010 103, the text and WhatsApp number, or you can give us a call here on 0818 300 103. But I'm going to start this morning by addressing, and it's a topic that has come up on Saturday View a few times this year so far, and even on Midlands Today yesterday, speaking to comedian and actor Pat Short, we had a brief little chat too about loneliness, and particularly loneliness, isolation, lack of connectivity post-pandemic when the lockdowns were finally stopped and the restrictions were lifted. There's a sense that maybe across all generations and every people of all ages and different backgrounds, that there seems to be for quite a few people a bit of a loss of connection there. And this can be very true for people who are working maybe and they're absorbed in their work and maybe they're not seeing people because they're working from home. It can be because people have lost friends or partners or, that person that you could speak to every day, maybe during COVID or since COVID, and it's been hard to make new connections or new friends. And yes, there are loads of fantastic initiatives happening around our communities. A few weeks back, I spoke to three men about a friendship epidemic amongst, or a friendship recession, I should say, amongst men. And they spoke too about how it can be challenging these days to just get that time, or to find that time, or carve out that piece of time to just engage with people and have a good old-fashioned chat. But one local initiative that is really making huge waves there and making a huge difference is happening out in Mucklagh Community Centre. They have been running a men's coffee morning out there on a Thursday morning at 10 a.m. and it's open doors. Anybody who's in the area can drop in, sit down, have a cup of coffee and have a cup of tea. But most importantly, just have a bit of a chat. And I had the privilege and pleasure of spending some time with the group very, very recently out in Mucklagh. So I first began by talking to Caroline Bryant, manager of Mucklagh Community Centre. And I first wanted to inquire about why did they decide to start the coffee mornings in the first place.
Look, we're a community centre and a lot of it is about social interaction, and after COVID we would have done a number of things. We run a social lunch once a month where people would come have a lunch, we'd have music and we'd have a bit of dancing and chat. We also have cards maybe on a Sunday night where we'd have 25 and again it's social interaction. So it's simple things like that to get people back out and get into the centre. And maybe we'll say Philip is here tomorrow for coffee morning, he might meet someone and say, sure, come on down and have a chat. Or people see it up on social media. Not many people, because of the age group, would be looking at social media. So a lot of it is by word of mouth, you know what I mean? We have Father Michael here this morning, and him and Father Frank would come over on a regular basis maybe and have a chat with them as well. So, but people are not on the onus that they have to come every Thursday morning. If they feel like coming, come along, and if not, you know what I mean? So they're not pressurising, I have to go. But it's a place to go, have a chat and maybe have a talk. And, When it's a good morning, I buy them scones. They know I want a job done. So they'll always help out in the centre as well, which is very good.
Yeah, so it's kind of a win-win for all sides then. I have to say the scones are delicious, and I've had some of the brown bread. It was still hot coming out of the oven too, so very hard to beat. Was it hard to get people engaged first, or did you have to get one or two men over the line and then more followed?
We had to we got a couple of people that was helping out to come in and have a cup of tea. We'd initiated maybe looking at maybe a men's shed, but nobody was buying into that. And we also try different things, maybe for boccia or maybe doing different programs that's here. But we pulled away from that, and they enjoyed that coffee morning, so they do. And we leave it at the coffee morning, and they don't have to do things that, you know what I mean? It's not just, some people I'm not interested in them poles, or I'm not interested in boccia, and it turns them off. So we just leave it as it is. It's a coffee morning, come in and have a chat, you know what I mean? Whatever's out in the news, whatever's, you know what I mean, whatever's bothering them, someone might, you know what I mean, be going somewhere, maybe for a checkup or something, they might talk about it or whatever. So it's just a space on their own, and they have a chat.
Absolutely, and you can hear that going on in the background. Whatever, loads of topics being discussed at the minute, and it's mighty. You can hear them chattering away. And again, you just think if people weren't here, they could be just sitting at home, they could be just going around town doing a few jobs. It's lovely to have that interaction too. And you say so much going on here in the community centre, but they're very particular too. You know, you get work out of them, but the size of the community centre, you have a massive sports hall, you have an upstairs area, you have loads of breakout rooms, but they insist on having their tea and coffee in the kitchen.
Well, everyone loves the kitchen, isn't it? You know what I mean? We all had a good room in the house and whatever, and where does everyone sit? It's around the kitchen table. And I think that's what they like, is the kitchen table. And it's, as you said, it's simple brown bread, a scone and whatever. That's what you have at home. So that's it. And I suppose COVID has stopped people from going out, and they're trying to get back into the habit. But not only that, they probably lost a partner, maybe they lost a friend that they used to walk with, or someone they used to go maybe shooting with or something like that. And they didn't know where to go back, because things didn't go back up like they normally did. I mean, last night we had a meeting with the guards, with community guards for text alert, and they're only starting to get that back. Things are only starting to go back, and that's one of the big problems, is loneliness. So it is. So what people say, why don't you go somewhere? That takes a bit of effort, because people that always went somewhere with someone, it takes effort for them to come down. And I think that's what's nice about the coffee morning. Someone will meet someone, say, come on down and chat. And some of those men would come and play the cards, have started playing the cards because they came to the coffee morning. They might see something else that's going on and find out what's in the community.
After Caroline had introduced me to the large group attending the coffee morning, I took my seat at the table to find out what it is that brings them there every Thursday morning. I began by asking parish priest Father Michael Whittaker about the importance of initiatives such as this in our local communities.
It's absolutely, I think, vital, you know, especially, I suppose, in this day and age when everyone tends to be so busy, to get out and have that little chat among ourselves. It's so important for everyone's, I suppose, in this day and age, especially when there's such an emphasis on mental health, that we're out there and having a chat, and just a simple chat about what's going on and things locally, and we topics that are foremost out there in the news and all that kind of stuff as well. And there's a good bit of banter and a good bit of laughter as well, and I think that's all very good for all of us. The
brown bread and the scones and the jam and the endless cups of tea and coffee help. Very simple to do, but Caroline was telling us, to get something like this off the ground, get people engaged. Once you get the first couple of people, more follow too, and that message goes out that anybody who wants to come can come here. What do you enjoy most about it?
I suppose I'm a native from around here, but there's still people that I wouldn't have known, and it's kind of a way for me to kind of get to know people a bit better as well, and have a chat, and for them maybe to get to know me as well a bit. So I enjoy that part. And what I most enjoy is seeing people coming to it, and having that bit of chat and bit of banter among ourselves, and the lift I think it brings to people in their lives. I think that's what I enjoy most about it.
One of the lads mentioned to me when I came in first that they right all the wrongs of the world. Then we had a good laugh, because we said actually that's nearly not what it's about. It's just discussing, as we say, whatever's in people's minds at the minute. So already this morning we've talked about traffic and traffic management and mobile phone usage, then modern cars and how we're all distracted by screens in cars and people on mobile phones. We've talked about GAA. They've already given me a full kind of a grilling as to who I am and where I'm from, but we've established that now. Golf, of course, came into it as well. So that's it. So like anything goes. A certain political party have been discussed as well, but we'll leave that for now. We won't say too much. So I suppose let's meet some of the guys that are here. If anybody wants to jump up and tell me, when did you first start coming and what's the kind of secret sauce in it?
Yeah, well, I'm Philip Barron. I was part of the committee here at the start of the building, so I was involved in the development of it here, so I'm very happy to come down here now and socialise with the rest of the lads,
Yeah, you seem to be the spokesman for the group now.
Not really. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say that now at all. No, I know.
What do you enjoy most about it, Philip?
Sort of a bit of banter and a bit of crack and a bit of chat about the matches that played the previous few days or something like that, in the GAA. I'd be a good follower of the GAA, so I enjoyed a bit of banter about it here, after,
Yeah. And that's it, just have that outlet, because social media doesn't give us that, but these kind of faceless texts and all, and it doesn't really, I think we should really take the social word out of it sometimes too. I've loads of nervous lads looking at me, think I'm going to go around the room. Who wants to jump up next? Who wants to talk about the coffee morning and say like what it is, what brings you here on a Thursday, and what you enjoy most about it?
I look forward to the chat and a bit of crack and banter. I started, Pat Guinan is my name, I started about 18 months ago. I think Declan Costello was one of the initial behind driving force behind the starting of the coffee morning. So I think the first morning we came here there was only 5 or 6. So it has grown from that, and we don't have everybody every week. So we always at our age, you have doctor's appointments and this, that, and the other. So we're all we could have 2 or 3 missing every week. But no, I enjoyed the crack. It's great, a great sport.
That's it, and just that extra way of getting out there too. And even on those doctor appointments, we all have them, and it's nice to just share, because like a lot of things, we're probably all going through much the same thing as well. Anybody else want to come in there? One man jumping up and down here.
I'm just wondering, what would your medical appointments be?
We can't talk about that on here. We'll talk about that with a coffee after this, all right? I'll show you. We're going to go down to Sam McMorris here at this other end as well. Now, try and keep it clean now, Sam. How long have you been coming yourself? And I guess that simple question, what is it about the coffee morning?
Initially, I got involved, I think it was Philip asked me onto the committee initially here for this development. And it was a great privilege over the years to be involved here and to see what it has come to now. It's a fabulous facility for the whole community. And the coffee morning then again is I am retired, you see, so it's lovely in retirement to be able to come down and have a chat. And with it, for example, Paddy there now, I've been meeting Paddy for years in the car and that, but we never could have a chat. But since Paddy come here now, we're having the chat, so before we'd always salute each other in the car. So there's that new communication with your neighbours and stuff so it's...
And it's kind of something that we all assume is there, but I think I had this discussion with somebody recently that a lot of Irish people now live a lifestyle where they go to work in the morning, they come home, back into the house, and they're not leaving the house, and neighbours don't actually know each other. And it's not that people have moved in from other areas or that, it's purely lack of engagement and maybe having the courage to knock on a door and chat people. And I think it's definitely an indictment on modern Irish society. So anybody else want to just jump in as well and say what is it about that they really enjoy about it?
My name is Jim Guilfoyle. I'm living in Muckle here for the last 30 years. I try to get down here most Thursday mornings. It's nice to be meeting people and having a chat. That'll be football or hurling or whatever, general things. And it's nice to see new faces coming here, and everyone is welcome. I can see we get different people there most Thursdays, and everyone is welcome.
And that's very apparent as well. I've had a lovely morning here already, and I will be back, that's for sure. I only live in the road. The most important question is, who cleans up?
We all do. We all do.
There you are. You heard it as well. Yeah. Look, it's an example to all. Leave it as you get it. Real All Blacks thing, yeah. And now back to Centre Manager Caroline Bryant to talk about the many programmes in the centre forging a sense of community in the area as the men continue to chat freely in the background. You've mentioned some of the things, but the community centre at large, you've a huge amount of activities going on. Just give us a flavour, because there is something for everyone here.
How long have you got?
30 seconds.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the centre, I suppose. One of the great programmes we have here is XWell, which is a clinically delivered exercise programme. Now you'll be referred by your consultant or your GP or that, and that's delivered twice a week, and there's 4 classes on a Wednesday, 4 classes on a Friday. It's an excellent programme. We also run, in conjunction with Offaly Sports Partnership, a programme called Active Air Polls, and you'll see this is taken off very, very much here in Ireland. But we'd have 40 on a Tuesday, maybe have about 20 maybe on a Thursday. And it's exercise with poles. And it is designed that people, even with limited mobility, can use this. And they do all the functional exercise that's required. Maybe moving their legs, standing, their balance, exercises with their arms that they need for everyday purposes. So it is. And not only that, it's very, very enjoyable. And what they love to do, and even the people after the XWL class, they love to go into our meeting room and have a cup of tea and have a chat. And that is the social interaction, which we know is proven that's important as the exercise itself in it. Then we'd have Bloom Baby. They deliver mother and toddler programme here on the Tuesdays. We have 6 classes of Pilates that happens in the weekdays. We have a circuit class that happens on a Wednesday evening, which is quite busy. We'd have a lovely group of ladies who meet knit and stitch, and they meet every Tuesday morning, and they would some of them are knitting, some of them are crocheting, some are needle crafting, and they share their skills. And the lovely thing about this, and with the Active Air Polls on a Tuesday, we actually have transition year students who come from Killenass School, and they go up and they show the students how to knit, and the students come in and they take part in the polls. And after the polls, we have Marissa group that come in and do exercise, and the pupils help out with them, and they respond to them because they're similar ages to them, and that's lovely to see. And they're so good, the pupils are so good with those special needs people. They're absolutely excellent. And it's a credit to them and a credit to the school. And I suppose that's maybe where society has changed now, that we have the special needs in the school, so they're part of everyday life. We're very lucky, and we do have large events now. We had a big Corl and Oak here last Tuesday. We have a big event coming up now on the 19th of November. I hope the election's not that day, because it's the Ireland Men's Shed Conference. Okay. And they're looking to break a world record here with having what's the most important tool in the men's shed, which is the electric kettle. So we're hoping to break the Guinness Book of Records of 1,000 kettles, 1,000 working kettles on the day. We'll be calling out for working electric kettles, if people would like to leave them down to the centre, and they're involving with the transition year students within Killenass as well.
You've been listening there to Caroline Bryant, the Centre Manager of Muckla Community Centre, and we were talking last Thursday at the men's coffee morning that takes place there every Thursday at 10 a.m. Lovely, simple idea. You know, it took a bit of work to get it off the ground, as all the best ideas do, but a great atmosphere. Drop in, have a cup of tea, cup of coffee, have a scone, a bit of brown bread, and most importantly, have that chat and maybe meet new friends or rekindle old acquaintances. Or as some of the guys said there, maybe get speaking to that person who, the way life has us now, we're so busy, we're meeting each other on the roads, never taking time to have that chat. A great idea, and one I'm sure is happening in similar ways across the community, and other ideas an idea that maybe other communities and other community centres might get behind and instigate and get going. A fantastic morning, and as I said there, I look forward to going back again and having another cup of coffee, another slice of brown bread. Time for me now to take a quick break. After that, you're going to meet the Westmeath mentalist, who will be appearing on stage in the West End in London early next year, and he's a few tricks up his sleeve as well.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. lumcloonenergy.com.
Now, time for something a little bit different on Saturday View, and as we enter the October bank holiday, Halloween is just around the corner. I am about to be scared, you know what, but I'm going to introduce you to Conor Breen from Westmeath, better known as Teach. Good morning, Conor.
Good morning.
Or should I call you Teach?
Teach will do, yeah. I've been called many names in the past, but Teach will do me, yes.
Tell us, why Teach?
Teach, good question. It's kind of the golden question of the last few years. So I'm actually a teacher. I'm a teacher, not of magic, but of lovely little students in secondary schools all across the country. So I teach English, and I also teach religion. So I suppose the character, really who I am, is very similar to the character I am when I'm on stage as a performer. So I bring the name Teach because my performance style is very much almost like an educator in many ways. It's like a TED Talk with some magic.
If I dig a little bit deeper onto your website, in aclassofhisown.com, it says, Teach uses methods of suggestion, psychology and misdirection, allowing people to see the world around them in ways they could never imagine.
Yeah.
You're beginning to hook us now already. So particularly I think this is really interesting as we approach a likely a general election campaign and people are wondering about suggestion and psychology and misdirection as well. What do you do and how do you use those techniques?
Well, I suppose, first of all, you have to be some way, I suppose, approachable, likeable. It's very hard to connect with people if you already are instantly almost disliked. So I suppose the methods, it's very hard to get into them without going into them, like, and then, putting wool over people's eyes is kind of what I'm doing a lot of the time. But you use all elements of it, but I generally kind of camouflage it with just normal, genuine conversation. I have a purpose as to everything I'm doing. And everything is to genuinely, not to be cheesy or corny, but I do try to leave people feeling a little bit better, or at least knowing something that they didn't think was possible at one point. Now they think it is kind of possible. So there's lots of different avenues you can go into, from hypnosis to suggestion to the misdirections to the influencing. And influencing is an odd term because it's kind of a blanket term for a lot of things now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's become really more known for, there's a flogging crap online,
yeah,
that's
yes.
that influence. But I suppose we can go back through, popular culture and even history and things about, how to make friends and influence people.
Yes.
And really, we look at the likes of the US elections and it really is all about impressions and influencing and bringing different demographics aligned with your message, even if you are just spouting out and out lies or getting drawn into like pop shots at people as well. So what does influence mean for you as a mentalist?
Well, I suppose with the skills that I have acquired over the years, I sound a bit like Liam Neeson now, don't I, in Taken. But I genuinely, over the years, I've just obsessed over this for the longest time. Obviously, I lived abroad. I lived in Asia for a number of years. And I found that just being around people, this is taking away all the magic and the mentalism. I've always found that I just click with people. I love looking and reading people. I've always done it even from a young age. And I just like making people better. I know that's a strange thing to say, but it's not my sole purpose. I just seem to do it in a way that's naturally, to me anyway. But influencing, when I walk up to people and I ask them the simple question, do you think you're easily influenced? They almost see it as a threat. It's like, well, I don't think so. Or it's a challenge at least. But, where sometimes people could see it as, being open-minded. Are you easily influenced, but are you open-minded? Are you open to things? A suggestion. So, I suppose just influence it's a hard term to put into words, but it's something I do quite often, yeah.
Yeah, I think you can imagine maybe somebody's initial reaction is when you ask, can you be influenced? Can you be misled? Are you going to try and trick somebody into something at that point? You're saying you're using this to make people feel better, and this interest started in sort of reading people and that from a young age. How did you first notice it and say, this is something that I really want to explore now and ultimately look at making a career out of?
Yeah, it probably started when I first moved across. I was always into magic, but when I moved away from just magic, because magic would be sometimes associated to trickery or sleight of hand or putting, again, just it has a term attached to it that seems there's a trick involved in it. But where I started moving in towards like mentalism, it really suited my character, and having lived in Asia for a number of years, a lot of the time I was surrounded by people who didn't speak English. So a lot of the time I was reading body language. I was looking at little tells and micro expressions, and I obsessed over it. I read books on it, and I didn't study it as such, but I definitely in my own time I read books on it, and I kind of put it to the test, and I found it coincided with my character, my personality. But again, I'm not doing anything that you or I or anyone else cannot do. This is just something I obsessed over.
It's 93%, isn't it, of communications is non-verbal typically?
Exactly, yeah. So, this is 77% is body language, and it's something that we just turn a blind eye to. Like you're sitting here in front of me with your hand up to your mouth. I'm trying to determine what that means. But it's the same thing if a woman or a man is standing at a bus stop and she has her arms crossed. Is she cold? She could be, but she might also be defensive. So you have to. These are the little things. I'm almost like a serial killer in that way. I'm trying to figure out what people are doing, and it's a strange thing.
But I've spoken to a guest on the show actually in the run up to the local elections, and he has studied for years into the ancient Chinese art of face reading as well, and he does that at a corporate level. So we hear things like, say, Barack Obama, highly skilled in neurolinguistic programming and reading people too, like all these great orators as well. So it's not that it's a dark arts or it's not being used. I mean, it's been used and deployed all the time, maybe just not in plain sight as well. How did you kind of, I suppose, validate or in your own mind go, I can actually do this and I'm right in my initial assertions or my assumptions about people?
I did this by myself, just purely because I felt this was the way I was just programmed, right? And I never did it for, finances or anything like that. It was a part of my life. But I can put it down to one day being in a classroom. I was in Thailand and I was connecting with a couple of kids. We were actually talking about the topic of Jesus came up, funny enough, above all people. And he came up and they said to me, well, sir, if Jesus was alive today, would he not just be like a magician? Because he could turn water into wine, he could walk on water, and he could disappear from a tomb. And I thought, well, Jesus, I said, that's quite a question. But it started me actually saying, well, funny enough, actually, let me show you something. Is this luck? Is it magic? Or is it just a coincidence? And I did something for them and I saw the reaction. And it was never about me. It was never about, oh, look at me doing magic or look at me reading minds. It was more how I saw the reaction. And I thought, wow, that is amazing. And from then on, I had this kind of connection with that particular group of people. And then it kind of told me that, why am I not doing this more? And I kind of over the years then I just thought, right, if I'm going to do this, I do it right. And just get the kind of the confidence to do something like that. But it came kind of natural. I don't know when the exact point was as such. But
as a teacher though, as a conventional, say, teacher, not as conventional, but in a day job context, are you able to then get your students to accept their homework a bit easier, do more? Like, how do you influence the class of students then?
A lot of what I do generally is to get people intrigued in what I'm doing. And that's a battle of every teacher in the schools across anywhere in the world, but especially here in Ireland. So I don't go in there and say, look, rabbits in hats and stuff like that, but it's more, how do I get them engaged? How do I get them intrigued with what I'm doing? Now, you can never, they will say to me often, just tell him you didn't do your homework. He's going to know anyway. So there's a little bit of that, but you can never walk up to someone and say...
sensing a dog eating homework, the classics.
But you can also not say, sorry, what's your name again? They're like, well, you tell me, so... I definitely don't go in with that mindset, and if there's any principal out there, that definitely is not what I do in classroom, but I do get to intrigue and create interest in the people in front of me so that they're open to learning, but learning comes in so many different ways. And like I said, when I'm on stage, and even coming up into the next year, it's a feeling of how am I going to get people to leave here having felt like they've learned something? Because we can all just read a magic trick book and go onto YouTube. That's an amazing thing now. But it's how do you inspire people to leave having learned something and feel like they can do something themselves, Yeah.
And you mentioned one word in that, engagement, and there are consultancy companies making billions upon billions every year all around engagement in the workplace. And it's no different than what you said there. It's about maybe opening people's minds, getting them actively interested and involved in what they're doing, making sure the tasks you're giving them and the chance to excel or the chance to develop is there. So this is happening obviously in primary schools, and maybe we seem to drop off and it fails in the workplace, but it's made some people very, very wealthy too. You then decided, you said, to take this and look at maybe making a career and actually seeing, can you do it in public, which is probably a big move at the same time. How did you start that, and kind of what typically is what's the performance that Teach brings when you go to private events or weddings?
Yeah, it came to me, like, I suppose, how do I start into something like this? It really is, a bit of flight time. You need to get out there and you need to get connecting with people. And I've been doing that, obviously, myself throughout the years. But what a performance style would look like. So this could be at a wedding, and weddings are a kind of a common place you'd be booked to come in and do something at we'll say a drinks reception. That's one of the places that I suppose everyone's a little bit on edge, and the drink hasn't kicked in yet for most people. So you would literally, just create moments of wonder, get people talking. And the same thing happens at corporate events across the country, but also in all sorts of family events. I do everything I can because I don't have a certain area where I can perform. I'm an entertainer, but also I try to empower, try to inspire. So there's a lot of different things you can find a home for that. I had a question recently asking me, well, what, I said I'm a mentalist. I introduced myself as a mentalist. And most people don't know what a mentalist is. So I did the show, and a person came up to me afterwards and they said, that was an amazing show. That was really, really good. But what's that got to do with being a Methodist? And I said, it's slightly different. I hope you don't think that that's what I do after watching a full show. But it made me think, people don't know what that is as such,
But on your website, you've included the dictionary definition of a mentalist.
Exactly.
Which is?
Well, the way I kind of would define it as, it's someone who, it's a strange thing to say, but it's someone who can control minds but in the form of entertainment. But you would see throughout the years, people like Uri Geller would control a spoon. So a lot of it is just this, what people would say, mind control. But as you just touched upon, a lot of it reads into the body language, the psychology behind everything that we do. And that's kind of something that we all can learn. We all do it. We just don't really pay attention to it. I just obsessed over it more than the average person, and to the point where I felt I got quite good at it.
Yeah. So there's obviously there's that kind of base kind of instinctive or intuitive skill there that you've captured, and you've built upon that as well. If you're in front of, say, a select corporate audience or a wedding, is there a proportion of an audience that will be maybe resistant to influence, and is there always just people who are like, oh brilliant, I love mentalists, and they're open to it? Or is it the person sitting quietly hiding behind somebody that you go, I can influence them? How do you are we all open to a bit of influence and a bit of mind reading, or can some people, are they just naturally skilled, even if they don't know it, at closing themselves off?
I think as anyone would know, everyone's different, and some people are more challenging than others. Definitely you do get some resistance at times, because people straight away put the barrier up between you and them, and they don't really, they're almost afraid to let you in. But that goes for normal conversation, that goes for just meeting normal people every day of the week. People will not open up and be defensive, but that's my job to kind of pick the lock and try and see if there's a way in, but not to make fun, not to not make it feel like it's only solely for entertainment purposes. Where I feel like I'm different myself as Teach is that I do feel like they're leaving having felt a little bit better about themselves. And a lot of the things which I've started doing over the last few years is most reveal of a trick, we'll say, would happen in front of the magician or the mentalist. A lot of my reveals or revelations happen after I'm gone. So it happens at home. I give them a little message in their pocket. They open it up later on, 2-3 hours later, and it'll hit them then. I don't even see that, so therefore it's not about me. This is about leaving them with a little token that'll mean something to them a little bit later. But yeah, there is resistance, but I think that's as is life, isn't it?
True enough, yeah. You've played some quite large venues. You've a big gig coming up as well, but you kind of got me to write something earlier. Do you want to talk to us about that?
Yeah, well, I just wanted you to I suppose, think of someone. I'm fascinated with how we think and how people. I've been obsessed with human behaviour for the longest time. How we think and how we feel and how we communicate. But I wanted you to think of someone, I suppose, that is important to you, right? And we'll come to that in a moment, because I think it's important for this conversation. But before we do it, can I get you to do something else, which will lead into that?
Yeah.
So I have this little book, funny enough, as I suppose English teacher, but I do carry around this little book. Now, this is a book by Susan Jeffers. It's a little mini pocket book, and it's called The Little Book of Confidence. Now, I'd often write little quotes up in the classroom, and I would write it up there just from this book, and I would just to inspire. But I do it maybe once a week. And I'll just have a look through it, obviously, make sure that it is a real book, because I suppose when people think magician, mentalist, they think, well, it can't be real. But it is a real book, right? And all the words are different, and it is just a little tiny pocket book.
Interesting.
It is nice, isn't it?
It's a lovely little book.
It's a lovely little book, and I do carry that around with me, because again, I do read things myself, and it just kind of encourages you to kind of just switch off, focus on what you're doing, and then I suppose gives you a little pick-me-up in the day. But what I want you to do, and as well, because you notice now, when you open up a book, sometimes books open up at random pages, or at least if you keep open on the same page, it'll always open on that page. So what we're going to do is make this totally random. We're going to use my stopwatch. And what you're going to do is we're going to hit start, for example, and then at some point you're going to hit stop. Yeah. And I want you to focus on the millisecond. And whatever millisecond you stop on, that's going to be the page number that you end up opening.
That sounds simple enough.
Now, that's fair, isn't it?
That's
so, for example, you're going to hit start and you're going to hit stop. For example, here it would be number 4. All right, so Absolutely. I'll hit start on that.
I have The Little Book of Confidence in my hand by Susan Jeffers, and Teach is just reaching across now with his mobile phone. I'm actually going to look away and then just press stop, which has stopped on 65.
Okay.
So if I go
say no more, I'll let you just look at that page and just maybe look and see what's on that page, first of all, but don't say too much more. There's a little quote there as well, and then there's kind of an action for you to take, but I don't want you to say what that could be. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
You got it. Okay, what I'd like you to do now, right? So you've obviously read the main heading, which is there, but I'd like you to maybe go down to maybe the first sentence or at least, and maybe find a nice big juicy word there, something that is interesting. But just go to the first line if you can.
Okay.
And just look at me for a second. So this is okay, he's smiling, right? And he's a little giggle there, which is great. I'm watching everything I can from him. Now he keeps looking, there's a raise of the eyebrow. Now normally when the left eyebrow goes up, that's kind of a sign of a negative word, or at least a word that he doesn't really like. Am I right in saying that the word that you're thinking of right now is a word that you particularly hate?
Yeah, I definitely don't like it anyway, that's for sure. Yeah.
Okay, that would make sense because the eyebrow just rose slightly. Now I'm struggling with it because this is a very big word, isn't it?
It's long enough one, yeah.
Okay, so focus on the second letter, but don't say what it is. And to help me with that, I want you to think of a fruit that starts with that letter.
Yeah.
Okay. Now imagine putting that, and actually physically do this. I want you to put that fruit into your mouth.
Okay.
Okay, good. That's really strange because you should always peel an orange before you put it into your mouth. Yeah.
It was already peeled.
Oh, it was? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay, okay. Interesting. So that was okay. Now focus on the rest of the word and imagine it.
Yeah.
Okay. Ronan doesn't like when people complain, and the word he's thinking of is complaining.
It absolutely is.
Is that it?
It's
Yeah.
absolutely there. I'll hold up the cameras because this
There
is
we
radio,
go.
but it is, complaining. I don't mind, but I think there's more to life sometimes than complaining.
100%. And again, and I've actually put that up on my. For anyone who thinks that maybe this was all set up, please look on my Instagram on connorbreen.mentalist, and you'll see I've actually put up a little quote today, and it was basically telling people to, I suppose, stop complaining really and just take action. And literally that is the actual page he opened up on page 65. But do check that out just so you'll see it. But it's funny, Ronan, because when I was looking at you there, that's when it opened up to me that there is a person important to you that you do quite think about quite often. It's a person that gives you good strength. And if I was to look at you now, I would honestly say that because it's like you completely relaxed when I just said this to you, because now you're thinking of this person again, which would tell me it's a feminine kind of a feeling. So this is a female you're thinking of.
Yes.
Now he's still kind of smiling, but he's looking at the book, even though we're finished with the book, and he's still looking at it. So he's doing this to kind of look away from me, but he's trying his best. Now he's back at eye contact level, okay?
Yes.
So I want you to think of this person, think of how they make you feel, and imagine them coming in right now, and if they were to give you a big hug, and they would say, "Don't worry, it's fine." And just imagine that right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this, and I mean it in a nice way. This person is absolutely lovely. It's a lovely energy I get, but also can be a little bit annoying at times. But I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah, wouldn't say that now.
Wouldn't say annoying.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
No.
with that, because I got that kind of little feeling like you were kind of.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. Is this person younger than you?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So that's where we're going with that. So there's that little messer of a kind of a character.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the name right now.
Go on.
The name I got right there was Amy.
Jesus.
Who's
Exactly.
Amy?
Amy is my 3-year-old daughter.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
you are
so
now,
there you
yeah.
go. That was your 3-year-old daughter.
Yep.
Amy.
Absolutely. And lest anybody, Connor got me to write a name on a sheet of paper beforehand, and which I have in my pocket. Now, if you open up, he has written "I'm thinking of" with a little line on it, and it says, and I wrote Amy on it. And there you go. I'm thinking of Amy.
But she does give you that little bit of strength, doesn't she?
Of course,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Give her an extra hug now when you go home.
Oh, she's a great one for the hugs, actually.
Is she?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. Jesus, I am blown away.
Yeah,
That's-
well,
that's
thank you.
huge.
Yeah, it's great to just be able to just come in and connect with someone, like,
Yeah.
and it makes it's personal. It's personal to you,
Absolutely.
And hopefully, it's nice to connect with people that you've never met before, but also that you can connect in a level where, these people, such as your daughter, mean something to you, but it's also. It kind of makes other people aware of it and to think about these things a little bit more. That it's important,
Very simple. Yeah, it's funny because when you asked me before you came on, she was the first one came into my head, and then you kind of try to rack your brains, and I suppose part of you goes, I need to think of someone who you'll never get, and then you go, no, actually go with the first one, go with the gut instinct as well.
Don't always
because
try to
it's-
fight it too,
Absolutely, don't try to fight it. Never a truer word said. That's amazing. I say we have proof of this. It's on camera here as well, and we'll share this video later. But to wrap it up, Connor, I say you've played some big venues, including a 1,000-seater venue in the United States last year. But you have a big event coming up, the West End in London next year.
The West End in London is the new biggest thing, and I'm really excited about it. I mean, it's something that it's bucket list kind of stuff. And it came about only in the last couple of months, and we go over to a few magicians. Actually, there's a World Magic Convention happens every year in Blackpool, but we went over to London and we did a little performance in one of the venues over there, just for fun. And it so happened that somebody who actually runs one of these major theatres happened to be there and said he saw the reactions it was getting, and he thought, well, how can we take this and put this onto stage? So he said, can you go home, do your homework, figure out what you can do, and then bring it back to me, and we'll see if we can get you here. So We have a West End show on the 20th of February, and it's something that I never thought I'd be saying, I suppose, and I'm really looking forward to it, yes. And
why not? Well,
yeah.
You've proven to us you can do it, because there's one thing talking the talk, but when you walk the walk as well, and to do that live and to do it on air and do it on radio, I mean, and it's probably only a start and scratching the surface of what you can do as well.
Sure.
Conor Breen, better known as Teach. You can find out more about him in classofhis.com. Thank you so much for that,
Thanks
Conor,
for
this
having
morning,
me.
and all the very best. Time for a very quick break. After that, we'll round up some of the news items that broke over the last 24 hours.
Saturday View, with thanks to Lumcloon Energy, pioneering innovation, powering progress. LumcloonEnergy.com.
Before we wrap up Saturday View for this morning on this bank holiday weekend, let's bring your attention to an article that appeared in the Leinster Express. It says, consider all options before going to Portlaoise Hospital A&E over Halloween bank holiday weekend. The Laois Hospital has appealed to public and have suggested even other locations such as Roscommon Injury Unit as an alternative. So the hospital has announced that, obviously due to maybe restrictions and due to maybe the level of demand or the expected level of demand on the service, the HSE has issued the appeal as the bank holiday gets underway. But it's the latest in a series of similar pleas via the media for the hospital due to pressure on services there in recent weeks. The public are being urged to use out-of-hours GP care and minor injury units in Westmeath, Tipperary, Kildare and as far away as Roscommon where possible, rather than attending the Laois Hospital Emergency Department. And just to put that in context there, I suppose, and the ones that they're recommending are Mullingar Minor Injuries Unit at the Charter Medical Private Hospital, the Naas Minor Injuries Unit in Ballymore Eustace Road, Naas, the Nina Injury Unit in Nina, County Tipperary, and Roscommon Injury Unit at Roscommon University Hospital at Lone. So if over the bank holiday weekend, be it through sport or whatever, having a party at home or something, and somebody has an injury and they need to attend an ED, the word is there to try to avoid Portlaoise at all costs as well. So worth bearing in mind and getting that word out. And other than that, I think the message is, if we can all just try and stay safe, particularly on our roads this weekend. The RSA and the Gardaí, of course, are, as has become the norm at bank holiday weekends, going to introduce a kind of a crackdown on driving and indeed bad driver behaviour. But this comes in the back there of another article there that says Gardaí are in disbelief at a man who was 45 times over the drug limit in Laois. The judge said he had never seen a higher drug reading. Now, it's a man not originally from Laois, but passing through the county, who was stopped and detected by the Gardaí 45 times over the limit. Look at. We all need to just mind ourselves on the roads this bank holiday weekend, stay safe and do what we can, and always consider other road users in our actions as well. Time for me to leave. Lorraine McCormack is here with Feel Good Saturday, really revving up your bank holiday weekend after 11. I'm going to go and take a deep breath, maybe have a shot of brandy or a good strong coffee after everything Teach took me through there on the show. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you all soon.